Fun fact of the day. There's only ever been one checkmate in a chess world championship match, and that is the game we're going to look at today. This was the 20th world championship match. It's Alexander Alekhine, whatever your heart chooses, versus Yefim Bogolyubov. The way they used to determine a winner in the world championship match was first to 6 wins and a score of at least 15 points. Alekhine did win this match 15.5 to 9.5. It is a beautiful game. He checkmated a guy. Let's get into it. First, everybody put on their Banya hats. Put on their Banya hats. There you go. And then, let's see how it goes. We got a Queen's Pawn open by Yefim, and we get Knight to F6. Is it going to be a King's Indian? Is it going to be a Grunfeld? Is it going to be a Nimzo? Is it going to be something else? The world will never know until we go. So pawn to C4, we get pawn to B6. Very Queen's Indian-y. Good opening. Knight to C3. We get the light squared fianchetto on the queen side. And Yefim's like, I know your play style. I'm going to go F3. I'm going to shut down your bishop. Why is it even there? Alekhine's like, okay, I'm going to fight for the center. I'm not going to let you get E4 in and fight for the super center. We get takes, and what do you take back with? Don't lose your fianchetto bishop. Do not lose your queen. So, by process of elimination, you take back with the knight. Now, if knight takes, we would probably get queen takes because this bishop likes where it's at, and this queen can figure it out on the 5th, go back to the 8th. We looked at that Scandi, bringing your queen out early, but we got E4. So basically, Bogolyubov has a very solid pawn structure in the center against any fianchettos. The bishop's diagonals are shut down, but we have a fianchetto, we have no d-pawn, and our pawn structure is very compact. Queen's Indian types of play styles, you fight on the 6th through 8th rank, your opponent overextends, you strike, you punish them, because a space advantage can also turn into an overextension, because we're humans, we make mistakes, we're far from perfect. So we got pawn to E6. Oh, by the way, I'm getting LEDs, a new camera, so I won't look like a potato for too much longer. I'm getting some good lighting, so in the coming couple of weeks, there's going to be a whole new setup. It's going to be more professional. I hope it'll make the experience better for you guys. So we got bishop to B5 check. What is the point of this move? Well, the point of this move is Bogolyubov wants Alekhine to play pawn to C6 so that the knight can't come to C6 and the bishop's diagonal is bad. You can play pawn to C6. Just whatever you do, do not play knight C6. Why? Because you're walking into a pin. D5 will punish the pin and you will lose the game. He did not do that because it's a world championship match, and we get knight to D7. You know what else I've been thinking? I want to do like a critical moment of all decisive world championship matches, like all blunders that have ever happened in a world championship match. It'll probably be like a 40-minute video, but I think I'm going to do it. It's going to take a while. It's going to be like a montage format. We got some ideas. Knight to E2 development. White is trying to castle kingside, clearly. And we get bishop to E7, just developing. Are we going to go kingside? Are we going to go queenside? Let the game decide for itself. Let the chess speak for itself. I think someone says that nowadays. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. We get castles, pawn to A6. He's like, bishop, get out of here, or take my knight and help me develop. What does Bogolyubov do? He goes bishop to D3. Bogolyubov is a cool name to say, right? Bogolyubov. Is that just me? I don't know. Pawn to C5, striking in the center. The point is, you're kind of challenging the integrity of White's pawn structure. And say White were to take this, I would take back with the bishop and give a check, a spite check, because we like those. You can also go knight C5. You can also go knight E5 and attack the bishop like this and take like this. So you're very flexible. Your options are limitless in life. So what does White decide to do? He can't push. It's actually quite interesting. Look at this. If D5, take, right? Discovered check, not winning a queen. But it's a cool line. You open up your queen to the bishop. You centralize your knight. And the reason White's not so happy about winning that pawn back is look at that H-file. Look at that king. Not such a happy guy. So we do not get that. I hope I didn't go too fast. Also, thank you for commenting. Make your videos longer to the person who did that. I can slow down, though I just had coffee, and I'm clearly not slowing down. But I'm going to add, starting next week, a puzzle at the end of each video, like an endgame puzzle, like a little test you guys can do. The audience retention will probably drop off, but I do like the idea of that. I tried it once before. We're going to try it again. I don't know why I'm sharing my, you know what? It's because I feel like it. Bishop to b2. We get a queenside kind of fianchetto, aiming at the pawns but defending the center on d4. We get queen to c7. This is where it goes in all Sicilians. It's a very pretty diagonal. This queen aims at this king. Now we can castle queenside, we can castle kingside. And that's pretty good because white doesn't know which side of the board to attack on if he doesn't know which side of the board your king is going to. So it's like a psychological type of thing, right? It's chess, pretty psychological. And Yefim goes pawn to f4. Why is this bad? Well, he went pawn f3 to numb the scope of the bishop. And now the bishop is kind of good, actually. Yes, it gains a lot of space, but I would argue it's an overextension. So what should he have done? He should have challenged the integrity on the queen side, deter black from castling queen side. And if you deter black from castling queen side, it's going to be harder for him to attack on the king side. So in turn, you're making your king safer. That's why pawn to a4 would have been a very good move because he can threaten a5. And it kind of just makes castling queen side scarier, right? You can imagine like castles queen side, bishop c1, rook b1 type of things, and there's an attack going. I can put that on the board, like bishop c1, rook to b1, and there's some pressure there, not gonna lie. There is a little bit of pressure on this king, at least equal but opposite, I would say. But instead we get pawn to f4, knight to f6. Okay, very good. Knight to f6, you might be like, can't white just gain a tempo? But remember, every time you push a pawn, you weaken some squares, right? Because this pawn on e4, it clamps down on f5 and d5. When it goes to e5, yes, it attacks a knight, but then the knight jumps to d5, where it is just better placed, a lot better placed, threatening a fork in one. And it's not so easy. You know, you're going to push the pawn, gain some space on the queen side. Your position is quite nice. So don't overextend. We get knight to g3, a very good move. Now, what do? This is where the game picks up. This knight is a loose piece. It's a good piece, but it's a loose piece. Use your flank pawns. So he goes pawn to h5, threatening to go pawn to h4 to boot the knight. And white can't go somewhere like h4, stopping the attack. Many things are good. You can throw in c4 first. I would just go knight to g4. It's a very good knight. You're threatening the loose pawn. The f pawn is pinned because you don't want to lose the knight on g3. So that's why h4 would be a bad move by white, right? Too many pawns. You don't want to do that. Too many pawns. That's why these compact positions are nice, because he striked twice and they were good strikes, timed well. So we get queen to e2, pawn to h4. Now, one more thing I want to say. I am going to fix my setup. Comment down below. I like constructive criticism. It doesn't even need to be constructive. It could just be criticism. Anything that can improve my videos, I would like to do, because the better the videos are, the better we all, the more happy we all are, I would assume. So we get knight to h1. I've never seen a good knight on h1, but actually I've played knight h1 and it's turned out quite well before. But knight on h1 is not so pretty because it doesn't have a lot of squares, right? It's where the rook starts. It's not really where it wants to be. It can only move to 2 squares, unlike a centralized knight that can move to like 8 if we do some board geometry. Now knight to h5. So h4 cleared the h5 square. The knight cannot be taken because of the rook, and the knight and the queen are connecting on f4. So quite a good move. And if pawn e5, queen c6 looks quite good as well. The g pawn is going to be pinned. So like, let's say we waste a couple moves and take, for example. Look at that. Boom. Not so great for white. So again, not so easy to push pawns in the center of the board. So after knight h5, we get queen g4. A sensible move. White's like, okay, I want to go pawn to f5. If takes, there's no queenside castling. I'm aiming at f7. This knight is tied down to guard g7. Queen g4, mistake, but sensible. Aliakin's like, okay, I'm going to castle. My king's not on the king side anymore. What is your king side attack going to do? All your king side attack is going to do, in essence, is weaken your own king. And you haven't even started pushing pawns on the queen side. I am chilling. Not to mention this d pawn is now pinned, right? If takes. So it's not great for white, that is. We got rook a to e1. Okay, he's getting the nice rooks in the center of the board. Quote unquote nice. Kind of just like this knight and this king and this bishop. Sorry to roast white's position. Not sorry. King to b8, the best move. Look at this, cool, calm, collected. He's like, my position has no weaknesses that are being targeted. I'm just going to improve my king. I'm going to unpin my e-pawn from my king. And you got nothing on this diagonal. What are you going to do? Pin my queen to my king with your pawn that can't move and your bishop that can't rotate over in time? Can't even get to f4 because of my knight on h5? I said that all in one breath. I'm kind of hyped about that. Pawn to f5. Okay, it does weaken the diagonal. He does play it. It is the best move. Look at this beauty. This is grandmaster play. So, in this position, we get pawn to e5. The pawn is pinned because if the pawn takes, you take the bishop with the rook on d3. And so he goes pawn to d5, closing everything down. But these bishops are very closed off. Do not let him go c4 and create a good bishop. Go pawn c4 yourself, gaining a tempo on the bishop, opening up this unit of a diagonal on the king, gaining a tempo. The bishop has to move. You slide in with your bishop, give a check, and he has to block with the knight. But this knight is pinned. Keep that in mind. Now, what is the next thing to do? The next thing to do is open up the g file. So we got pawn to g6. Right, imagine if takes, you have this new diagonal because the bishop is not very good on this diagonal because of the pawn wall it hits. So he's trying to rip open a diagonal as well as rip open a vertical for the rook to attack the king. And the queen's on that file too. So risky business. We get pawn takes, do you take back? No, because then the g file is still closed. So he goes rook to g8, pinning the pawn to the queen. The point is you want the open files, the open lanes, the open routes of attack. We get bishop to c1, claiming this diagonal. Alyakin's like, okay, I could play that game. It's a two-way street. I'm going to go bishop to c8 and actually gain a tempo. The queen moves. He snags the pawn with the rook. It is a rook lift. He's planning to double up on the g-pawn, and the g-pawn can't even move because g3 is over-controlled by black. He might not hang this knight by going rook g8, but he might. King to h1, getting out of the pin. How do we win? Knight g3 check, a brilliancy. The point is, if white goes king g1, can you find the winning move? There are many. You can take the rook, but you can also trap the queen. That's right, that is a trap. The knight is pinned. The queen can't move anywhere to safety. It's a free queen, and then it's going to be a free rook. Well, not free, but a good material advantage trade. So Yefim's like, all right, this guy's got it. I'm going to lose, but let me keep playing. I respect this guy's playing. I'm going to play till checkmate, embrace the pain. Maybe it'll give me the fuel I need for tomorrow to win my next game. They don't do that nowadays. Pawn takes g3 check. We get king to h1. Just kidding. We got knight to h3. And this bishop is closing out the route to the king from going to g1. If the king did go to g1, it's just going to still be losing. You just take and then go bishop to g4, and this queen is not so hype. So he goes knight to h3, find the win. You take that knight with the bishop, ripping open white's king, and there's mate in 2. Calculate. Pause the video. Rook takes h3 check. The king cannot go to g1 because that is a good diagonal that the bishop is controlling. We get king g2, rook h2, and this was the only checkmate ever played in a world championship match. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. Peace.